Hello everybody. Welcome to Empower IAS orientation class on general studies. Today I am discussing certain points about general studies 2, which is known as polity and which has 5 interconnected subjects, which are constitution, governance, polity, social justice and international relations. It's not major problem to score higher in general studies 2 if you really put attention on certain essential aspects. Today I will show you that how to look at the questions. I have taken some questions here from this year and the previous year, and you will understand that where things may go wrong. Okay, let me just start straight away from the slides. Okay, this is a question from UPSC Mains 2021. The question is, constitutional morality is rooted in the Constitution itself and is founded on its essential facets. Explain the doctrine of constitutional morality with the help of relevant judicial decisions. You may notice that this question is 29 words and the marks is only 10 marks. Now you will have to understand the actual expectation of this question. That means you have to decode 29 words within 20 or 25 seconds, and then you have to start writing. Since it is 10 marks questions, it is around 150 words answer. Out of that, 50 words will go for your introduction and estimation. Therefore you are left with hardly or broadly to say that around 100 words. Within 100 words, you will have to answer these questions. Now, what are the different components you will have to address in this particular answer? Just now, let me go into that. Now, the questions required, there are 5 things. 1, what is constitutional morality? How it is rooted in the Indian Constitution, what are the essential facets of the Constitution, and how constitutional morality is founded on the Indian Constitution, and what does constitutional morality mean, and what are the relevant judicial decisions. You just cannot mention only, you'll have to explain a bit. Okay, now these 5 questions you'll have to do, and 100 words means around 6 or 7 sentences you have in hand. So within that you'll have to finish this particular answer. Now see that what does constitutional morality mean? Constitutional morality is different from the understanding of morality that we have otherwise in ethics or in other social understanding. So this is morality only which is set in the Indian Constitution. Second, moral standards of the Indian Constitution is described where? It is in the preamble, it is in the structure, means our federal structure, or different kind of other structural explanations that it has, and in the recognition of various rights and principles. We have preamble which says it is sovereign, secular, republic and democracy. We have fundamental rights in part 3 and directive principles in part 4. Then it recognizes pluralism, which means distinct cultural heritage it accommodates, and various sub-nationalism has a place in Indian Constitution. Then we have federalism as a structure, and 7th schedule distributes power among different federal units, and also we have 3-tier governments after the 73rd and 74th Amendment Acts. Then we have separation of power between legislature, judiciary and executive. Now the case you can give, there are at least couple of very good, very well known cases are there. One is Keshavanand Bharati, where basic structure has been established as a principle in 1973. Then Minerva Mills case 1980. Then there is Navjot Singh Johar article 377 discarding article 377. And then finally, very recent case, Sabarimala temple case. So all these cases can really be referred there. So this is how these answer can be structured. Now if you don't understand the basic components here, you may go zigzag and therefore your answer will not have enough strength. Let us go for the second one. Second question again I have taken from 2021. The question is, explain the constitutional provisions under which legislative councils are established. Okay, Review the working and current status of legislative councils with suitable illustrations. It is a 22 words question, and it is 15 marks. That means you have 250 words in hand. Of that 50 words, if you leave for the introduction estimation, you have 200 words or around 14 or 15 sentences in hand. Now let us see that what are the expectation of these questions. Okay, the expectations of these questions is constitutional provision for legislative councils. That means you'll have to give very clearly what is the constitutional provisions, then functions and role of legislative council, and with illustration, with examples, and then states where legislative councils exist. That is again with examples. Now, legislative council, the size of the state legislative council cannot be more than first thing is that legislative council is the second chamber of the state legislature, legislative assembly and legislative council. That you have to mention first. Then the size of the state legislative council cannot be more than 1/3 of the membership of the state legislative assembly. However, its size cannot be less than 40 members. These members elect the chairman and deputy chairman of the state legislative council. What is the constitutional provisions? So there are a number of provisions are there. Article 168, then Article 168, then Article 169, and which says Constitution of India, Parliament of India can create, abolish state legislature, and then we have 171 and then 170. So 4 constitutional provisions you can really mention here, and then working of the legislative councils with examples. So you have to say that it is more or less in the same line of Rajya Sabha, that it will listen to that, it will debate on that, it can give opinion, it can approve, all these things which more or less in the Rajya Sabha's line, and it can have but certain limitations are also there. It cannot have no confidence motion, it has no say in the money bill. At the same time, between council and assembly, the will or decision of the assembly prevails finally, and council does have some options like suggesting amendments, rejecting the bill, but these are not an obligation to assembly, almost like Rajya Sabha. Now, what is the problem or demerits of legislative council? Why legislative council is not so popular? First, it slows down legislative function. Now, AP, Andhra Pradesh, which has already a legislative council, last year they have passed a resolution to abolish it. Secondly, the no impact on legislative decisions, because finally legislative assembly can overrule the suggestions or amendments that legislative council forwards. Finally, refuge for the defeated candidates of the ruling parties. Okay, and then financial cost, because once there is an institute means you will have to maintain it, so cost is involved. Now, current status and examples are there. There are 6 states out of all the states in India. Andhra Pradesh has legislative council, but it has proposed to resolve it or abolish it. Then Karnataka has, Telangana has, Maharashtra, Bihar, Uttar Pradesh, they have. And West Bengal Assembly last year, while Andhra Pradesh has proposed to abolish it, West Bengal has proposed to re-establish it. So this is what is the position on this. Based on this, you will have to develop the answer of these questions. Right. See this question, Indian Constitution exhibits centralizing tendencies to maintain unity and integrity of the nation. Elucidated in the perspective of the Epidemic Diseases Act 1897, the Disaster Management Act 2005, and recently passed Farm Act. So it altogether 33 words are there. It's a 15 marks question. That means you have 250 words maximum to write. Out of that, around 50 words will go. So you have roughly around 180 to 200 words to write the answer. That means around 14 to 15 sentences. Now see that what are the expectations of these question. The question's requirement is first is that what is that centralizing tendencies in the Indian Constitution? Okay, then it is 7th schedule, residuary power, these are the areas you'll have to deal with. Then unity and integration of India, okay, secessionist tendencies, native princely states, okay. Then analysis of 3 acts: Epidemic Act, not part of the list. The disaster list means there are 3 lists. Then the Disaster Management Act is in the central list, and farm laws in again central list, and agriculture is otherwise in the state list. So that is where the issues are. Unity and integration of India due to complications associated with the use of the term unity and integration. Federalism, the constituent body described India as a union of states. It did not mention about federalism, but union of states to reinforce its territorial integrity and unbreakable nature. It further lent credence to an unitary system by placing single citizenship. We have for India, rather than a dual citizenship like America, right to secede is denied under the constitution, so nobody can secede from here. So this is where we see that unity and integrity. Now see that what are the 3 acts. 1897 Act, that is the Epidemic Diseases Act, it says is given right both to the state and the center to take action in case of epidemic. It's a very small state, only 4 sections are there. But in 2020 what happened, the Parliament made amendment to the Act and extended the power of the center on certain areas. Health is under state list otherwise, so therefore there will be a contradiction because epidemic is again a health issue. This is where the centralizing tendency and there is contradiction or confrontation. And then there are a lot of other things, and the India government has again prepared a public health prevention, control, management of epidemics, bioterrorism, disaster bill in 2017. It will again enter into the health area which is in the state list. Therefore, many states find that this way central government is interfering into the items within the state list. This is called centralizing tendency. Disaster Management Act, which came in 2005, is a central act. The scope of the act is much larger than 1897 Act, but it did not repeal 1897 Act. It still exists. Since epidemic is one of the component of the act, it automatically nullifies the 1897 Act. Thus, under this act, the state government function under the the central act. Okay, now since the 1897 Act is not yet repealed, the problem lies there. So this is where a kind of contradiction remains: centralizing tendency, state list, all these areas we'll have to deal with. And farm law, since it is no more existing, therefore I am not going to discuss it because it is an non-functional today. Now let me go for the second next question. Next question is from the resolution of contentious issues regarding distribution of legislative powers by the courts, principle of federal supremacy and harmonious construction have emerged. Explain. It is a 24 words question and only 10 marks. That means again you have around 100 words in hand. Now what is the requirements? So you see the requirements. What is principle of federal supremacy? Which are contentious issues on legislative power? And what is harmonious construction? Federal supremacy is described in Article 246 and Article 254. Now, Parliament's power, it is described in 246 to enact certain laws even in the areas of the state list, and 254 again it says that in concurrent list if Parliament makes a law and state also makes a law, that which law will prevail finally. So this is what is there. This can be regarding the state list also. The Supreme Court is the authority to take the position that whether there is a real contention, if there is a case on this, and that way Supreme Court enters into that to decide that how federal supremacy is to be decided, is to be determined. Now harmonious construction. The principal harmonious construction you will have to write, that is construction which avoids inconsistency or repugnancy between the various sections or parts of the statutes to be adopted. Now there are important cases are there. Now the one case that is called CIT versus Hindustan Hindustan Bar Carrier, this is an important case we'll have to mention, because in this case, Indian court has set the principles, guidelines for harmonious construction, which says that must avoid head-on clash. So that means court will see that if there is a clash, there is a confrontation, court will interfere to see that clash is removed, confrontation is removed, debate is removed. Provision of one section cannot be used to defeat provision of another section. This is where the Supreme Court's role becomes very vital. And there is another case which is also very important, 1963 case, which is the origin of it, that is Calcutta Gas Company Private Limited versus the State of West Bengal, 1963. So at least one case, and there are many other cases you can select, but this is one of the pioneering cases. But this case, which is CIT versus Hindustan Bar Carrier, is definitely an essential case to be mentioned here. Otherwise, you will not be able to establish the principle of harmonious construction. Next one is from 2018. Parliament's power to amend the constitution is a limited power and it cannot be enlarged into absolute power. That means whether Parliament can have absolute power to amend. In the light of this statement, explain whether Parliament under Article 368 of the Constitution can destroy the basic structure of the Constitution by expanding its amending power. You see that 46 word question and 15 marks as because it's marks. So 46 words you have to read and to understand, comprehend within 30 seconds time. This is the skill you will have to acquire in your preparatory stage. So what is the question's requirements? Requirements is provisions laid down in Article 368. What are the provisions laid down in 368? Basic structure of the Constitution, and basic structure means Keshwarananda Bharati case 1973. Then limitations of power of the Parliament, where the limitations of the Parliament have been explained, and what was the position of the court on this. Now Article 368 does not contain a power to amend the Constitution. Be very, very clear. It doesn't allow to amend the Constitution, but it's a procedure. The power to amend comes from the normal legislative power of Parliament. Therefore, amendments which take away or abridge the fundamental rights provisions cannot be passed. So, the Parliament does not amend the Constitution, but it amends the procedure. It is only a procedure to amend, but it actually depends on the ordinary, legislative process. Keshavananda Bharati case, what does it say actually? You have to very, very carefully, you have to read Keshavananda Bharati case. Parliament's power to make laws for the country and amendment to the Constitution not same. So making law and amendment of the Constitution not the similar thing. The word amendment when connected to the Constitution indicates addition of a provision on a new and independent subject. So it is an addition, it's a new independent subject, or it is some changes of the existing subject. Okay, so this kind of amendment, not that you are changing the Constitution, that amendment is not permissible within the power of the Parliament. That is what Keshavananda Bharati case says. Now what is the basic structure doctrine? It is the sovereignty of the country. This is one. Supremacy of the Constitution, republican and democratic form of government, then separation of power, secular character of the Constitution, federalism, essential features of individual freedom, unity and integrity of India. These are the basic features of the Constitution, basic structure which cannot be amended. Limitations of Parliament. 42nd Amendment Act inserted two clauses. One, Clause 4, amendment by Parliament cannot be taken to the court, and 5, no limitation can be taken to the court. Amendment of Parliament cannot be taken to the court, and 5, no limitation on constituent power of the Parliament. These two clauses were inserted by 42nd Amendment Act. In Minerva Mills case, this is where Minerva Mills case is important, where it says very clearly the Supreme Court nullified both the provisions as it gives Parliament absolute power. That means Supreme Court has not given absolute power to the Parliament according to the Constitution. In Coelho case, further 2007 case, the Apex Court says that judicial review of the laws enacted by Parliament is essential. That means Parliament passing the law, but whether this is really complying with the constitutional provision will be finally, established by judicial review. So this is what is in brief my presentation. Thank you very much. I will soon come with other slides, other subjects. Thank you very much.